I'd like to welcome to BioSummit, their first ever BioSummit, Rosann Wise from NIH, and Kimberly Jacoby Morris, who is from NHGRI. So Kimberly and Rosann, welcome.
Thank you.
So so let's go ahead and spotlight them both and find out, what is DNA Day? Tell us more about it.
Right. Super excited to be here. I do have slides. Can I just go ahead, do share screen and put them up now? Start with that? Great. Okay. Give me one moment to put it in presenter view. Yay. So we're really excited to be here. Kim and I, we both work at the National Institutes of Health. We are at one of the 27 institutes and centers, the National Human Genome Research Institute. Our institute is a smaller one, but one of the cooler ones. We led the Human Genome Project, which ultimately led to the creation of our, what was once an office, to all the way to an institute itself. Super excited to be here today. We want to tell you about DNA Day. We see it as a global movement. It's evolving. It didn't always look this way, or at least not with the vision that we have of how we can take this global. But we've sort of been digging our heels in and finding ways to move this forward. And so I'm going to give you some slides that introduce DNA Day to you, and then we'll get to a part where there's a discussion. In the discussion we can hold in the chat. Myself and Kim will sort of manage that, but we definitely want feedback, because we realize this may be the first time you've even heard of us or this movement or whatever we are. So that's what we're here for. Okay, so what is National DNA Day? So it really started because it commemorates the successful completion of the Human Genome Project in 2003. And we take it back 50 years because it also commemorates the discovery of DNA's double helix structure in 1953. This day is special. It's a specific day, April 25th, although it does fall on weekends sometimes. And because we're the federal government, we don't work weekends usually. So we will celebrate it like the Friday before. But April 25th, it was designated that day when Congress passed concurrent resolutions. The U.S. Congress passed concurrent resolutions declaring April 25th, 2003, DNA Day. And so since that declaration forward, we've pushed it, and we basically host an annual celebration for teachers, students, and the general public to learn about the latest advances in genomics research and how those advances may impact our lives, not just their lives, but all of our lives. But what is our goal? What is our goal? So our goal really is to increase genomic literacy. And so people say, well, I don't know what genomics is. Well, if for those maybe not in the field of research, genomics is basically, it's the study of all your, it's the study of all your DNA and how it impacts your health. Really, that's genomics. And genomic literacy, how we define it, is explaining scientific findings. It's a way to explain scientific findings in an understandable way. And I'm going to give kudos to Beth Tuck, who I know is on this talk. She really helped put that together way back when she worked with us at the National Human Genome Research Institute. But really, you know, we try to do this, like we want to do this. We want to increase genomic literacy, and part of the way we look at it is how do we do that? So one of the ways we see it is empowering educators, and these are educators in both formal and informal spaces. And you'll see shortly that we do work in informal spaces ourselves. We want to raise public awareness. We do a lot. So in non-corona times, we would be out at fairs in the community here. We are in the Washington, D.C. area. We would be out in the community here at fairs, bringing genomics to the public to raise their awareness. And also, like, we want to inspire the next generation of scientists. And so this is our way of doing it. So there's a lot involved. It's layered. It's not just one thing that's going on to really increase genomic literacy. Like we have inroads in which we are trying to make bring genomics and genomic literacy to all of us who can benefit from this. Here we go. Sorry, I was going to push that. All right. So how do we do that? How does NHGRI, that's our acronym, National Human Genome Research Institute. How do we do this? So a few years ago, we created a website. And this website is a great space, like for anybody. You can go, everything's freely available. We have offerings on the website of freely available, accessible resources. Many of them are created in-house, and some are created in partnerships with other groups. And some of those partnerships include teachers. And so it's been it's a really great spot for people to go and really learn about DNA Day and find things that they might want to, if they're trying to increase their own knowledge, or if there's something they want to do, they want to organize for their communities. We offer these resources here. And one of the ways we do this really to help promote DNA Day is we have a map. So this map, admittedly, it's National DNA Day, but part of the reason why we're here at the Global Bio Summit is because this is gonna go global. Like, we're going global. So, but right now it's still National DNA Day, but don't worry. Doing these kinds of talks with you guys and interacting, this is how we're gonna go global. So we have this events map. So if somebody out there in the world says, I'm gonna host an event, you go to our website, you put in your event information in a Google form, and I go in, look it over, it looks good, I hit enter, you go on our map. And if you hover, if anybody who is like interested saying, is there an event in my area? Is there an event somewhere else that I might be interested in? Many of our events are virtual. Honestly, probably going to remain that way. We started going virtual quite a bit last year in 2019. And it was kind of interesting because it was just, people were figuring out ways then how to bring the virtual environment and experience to, and still communicate the science to their communities. So if you hover over one of these double helixes, the event information will appear. And so like anybody interested can see all that. And as you can see, we've actually had the opportunity over the last several years to really start building this global audience. We've had events held in Brazil, in Peru, in England, in Thailand, in India, in China, in Mexico. We've had partners. And because it's like a two-man show, it's myself and Kim. We run this. So you don't talk to just a computer, or you don't get somebody sitting in the front of the front desk who takes your call. You're talking to us. And so we are helping you get your events out there, and we communicate with anybody who's interested. We have a DNA Day email set up for this too, to help support this. So it's really exciting. I get really excited when we have people who are like partners out there who are like, yeah, I want to do this. And as you see, like, we have social media promotion, and I do have a slide later on that highlights our social media, the ways we do it. We promote events all throughout the world, because we realize, like, you got to get your information out there, especially if you're doing something virtual that anybody can participate in. This is how we do it. So, okay. Oh, sorry. Yep. I'm sorry. I added these two. So Kenya and South Africa, we had events that were held there last in 2019 as well. And you'll hear a little bit more about the South Africa event. And that was the first time we did that. We were really, really excited. We were actually involved with that. So you're like, okay, well, what does our DNA Day programming look like? So this is how we met Dr. Kong. Very, very excited. Meeting him really like kind of changed our perspective on a lot of things, because it was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. This MIT Media Lab, how do we connect with them? What do we do? Like, we want to build this out and grow this. So he came and he did a talk for us. He did the Louise M. Slaughter National DNA Day lecture. So this lecture is held every year. And we try to invite people to speak at this lecture who are doing genomics, but they're doing it in a different kind of way. And they're doing it in a way the community can really learn from and understand. So they're not necessarily like, you know, on the bench, and that's all they do, and they don't. Like, we want people who are like bringing genomics to the world. And Dr. Kong, and he came and he did this talk for us, and it was great. So this lecture is very special to us because we honor the late Louise M. Slaughter, who was House of Representatives for New York. She was a genomics research advocate. And so, and we built a relationship with our institute alone. And it was really wonderful to see that. And she's also one of the primary reasons why DNA Day was announced on April 25th 25th, 2003. She was one of the authors of the current resolution. So really, really awesome. And so we host this every year. Normally it's an in-person thing and we would live stream it. But seeing as how times have changed, likely going to obviously going to go virtual with it in the future. I mentioned this before. So we, meaning our institute, has grantees, and they were part of the H3 Africa, which is Human Health and Heredity Initiative in Africa. And so we connected with one of our grantees, and what we did was what we called a speaker exchange. So we had a speaker, a researcher from our institute, talk about her research. And then they provided a trainee who spoke about his research. And we brought it to like a virtual worldwide audience, whoever was really, interested in participating. It was a great experience. We'd never done this before. And so we were so excited to connect with South Africa. And it was great because like our time zones were different, and we were, you got to manage all that, but it's part of the excitement of doing these kinds of things. So it's like a wonderful experience for us. And we really enjoyed doing that and connecting with them. And then, times are changing, health is changing, more topics we're all becoming more aware of topics, just in conversations that we're having in dealing with this pandemic and things like that. So we connected, meaning the National Human Genome Research Institute. So we connected with a Genomics and Health Disparities interest group at the National Institutes of Health. And we connected with them, and Dr. Janina Jeff, she's a wonderful population geneticist and also a podcaster. She's got a lot going on. She's, very broad interest. She gave a talk about health disparities and her research. So, DNA Day is about talking about topics that affect the community, which we can talk about shortly in our slides. And then also, I mentioned informal spaces, and this is to help inform, like, who can we partner with? Who can you partner with? And we partner with the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History here in the United States. And part of the partnership is due to the fact that we had an exhibit with them that was on tour, Genome Unlocking Life's Code, mostly in North America, but it's going to be going back to the Smithsonian in like the next several months. So we're super excited about that, and it'll be in a different form somewhat, but very excited to have it back there. But again, this is an informal space, and we connect with their Human Origins Today program, and we bring a speaker, a researcher that we have. We take them down to the Smithsonian, and they give a talk in a very small space, open space, because this is a free museum, and anybody walking by can come in, and it's been great. And our researchers would talk about the research they're doing, and but in a plain language form too. So it's an experience for them our researchers to really learn what the public knows and wants to hear about. And these are a very engaged public, because they're at a museum, obviously, that's probably very much of interest to them. And that's a really cool museum either way. But this is how we think about it. Like, it's not only formal spaces, we go into informal spaces ourselves. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have our social media. So we have DNA Day, we're on Twitter, and we are on Facebook. And this is how I promote our events. I have a graphic I create each year. It changes just a little bit, and we put it out there, and we promote it to all of our followers, promoting your event with, like, and I should have had the graphic. I'm sorry, I didn't think about doing that to show you how we do that. But the graphic is like designed in-house, and we put all your event information on there, and we really encourage people, and I'm promoting it throughout the weeks prior, depending on how soon people get their events onto our map. So this is a way we get there. Like, we're really big on this, and because we realize the importance of it. So, okay. Thank you. So back to our goals. So our goal is to increase genomic literacy. And so we are actually in a branch, the Education and Community Involvement branch, and our branch was established we basically work to establish partnerships nationally in the US. But as I mentioned before, now's the time to expand internationally and expand the genomic literacy campaign on a global level that we're working on, because genomics is going global. And if you think about it, like, how is it doing that? So like, why are we even thinking global? So we kind of see three communities that we touch, three groups. It's the students, educators, and the general public. So these are the three main groups that can really like benefit from this. And honestly, we are doing this because we are in the midst of the research. And so, and you know, research goes from the bench to the hospital bed, really. That's, you know, and we're sort of embedded in all those aspects in between. So genomics is really informing our healthcare. And then communities. So if they learn about DNA Day and we can bring it to them and they can participate, they can be informed and they can participate and they can advocate. And they're in conversations around access and needs because there are issues. So this is an opportunity for communities to be involved. And then things like we may all have seen a 23andMe commercial or something, or an Ancestry.com commercial. It's very popular usually during Father's Day, or get your dad this DNA test kit and stuff. And so basically this commercial direct to consumer tests, they deliver genomic information to consumers, but what does that mean? We don't know. So like, how can we bring consumers up to speed and help them, you know, interest them maybe in learning more? And then in reality, there's a need for a genomics workforce diversity. We know this primarily because we're at the NIH. We see it, we know it. And our institute is starting to work really hard on this themselves, but DNA Day, we get it. And so like, goes back to inspiring our next generation of scientists, because first of all, that's a global inspiration. Like we have science, we have young people globally. We're not just thinking here in the US, and we're thinking, you know, across all realms of the world and people, and how do we bring them in and help encourage it? Think about genomics as a possibility, and you can do this. You can be a computer science in bioinformatics, or a researcher. You can do all this. And then also, you know, there's a lack of innovative education resources for educators. And this is part of the reason why we try to create resources ourselves, but also we try to bring resources to educators that we know from partners and things like that. So we don't mind being that bridge, because there's honestly, as a federal government agency, there's only so much we can do. And we realize that. This is why we need partnerships in the community. We need global partnerships. And then genomic literacy, it really provides agency to communities in making decisions on how research is conducted and who benefits. It really does. And as we move on and, you know, things change, it's so vital. It's so vital. So this is where we wanted to like have a bit of a discussion now, given, you know, the time constraints and some of the, you know, the things of the technical aspects of doing this on Zoom. Participating in the chat is fine. We encourage it, please. If you have a question, you want to contribute something, you want to say something, Kim and I will be monitoring the chat. But so I've presented some of the things that we've done, but so who can be a DNA Day partner? Like who can do it? So as I've mentioned already, educators, both formal and informal. And we work with educators here in the DC area. We go into their classroom. Well, we were going into their classrooms. We do hands-on activities with them. I've done countless science fairs, just coming and presenting. And we're working with kids. Like, I don't say no to elementary school, to middle school, to high school. Like, we got to get to these kids young. So I'm in there. Like, if they have a science fair or something like that, we're in there, we're doing it. Just bringing genomics in any way, shape, or form that we can to the kids. But if you're thinking about it, if you have partners, if you're aware of educators that might benefit from bringing genomics to their classroom, obviously a lot of this is virtual these days, which honestly makes it a little easier too, getting into, doing things and accessing these classrooms and these students. So educators are one group to think about. If you know teachers out there in the world teaching these students that we really need to get to. We've had partners such as hospitals, and I thought this was really great. I wanted to show this to you. So back in I think this was in 2018 maybe, or 2019, a hospital down in Florida had a DNA Day event, and they brought in service dogs. and they did activities with the kids. So this gives me an opportunity to point out to you that we think beyond just genomics. Like when you're doing DNA Day activities, we're thinking STEM, and we can call it a DNA Day activity. There's no prescription for this. We don't like prescriptions. We want to keep it flow. We want to give it opportunity. Like we want you to be creative and use your imagination on this. So for instance, so we worked with this hospitals. Obviously today, this would be very difficult given the current situation, but thinking ahead in the future, you know, thinking beyond just teachers. Also, basically, we're thinking healthcare providers, things of that sort. And we haven't made as many connections ourselves with healthcare providers, but that doesn't mean there aren't healthcare providers out there in the world interested in this and doing events. We've worked with libraries. And libraries are really interesting because they can bring in people from all walks of life and who are interested, and they come in and they participate in these events. Libraries host DNA Day events. And then also, and this might be more relevant to some of our participants who on this Zoom right now who are still in college. So we have a couple of universities here in the United States that actually have official DNA Day events. So like the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, University of Michigan, University of Arizona, these three, they're not limited to these, but these three really do, University of Kansas or Kansas University, they host events around DNA Day. And these groups, so what they do is they've created a few lesson plans. And then their college students go into the classrooms all throughout North Carolina, and they bring this, they present to the kids. So the really cool thing about it is it's an experience for the college student, because now they're like a role model for these students. So it's a career experience for both the high school students that these college students work with, and for themselves. So this is like a great way to for DNA Day to really expand. And we would love to see this grow to other universities worldwide, like to be able to do things on this level and bring DNA and genomics to these students. Like you guys were great role models, and really, you know, if you go into the classroom, they can see themselves, and that's so important to inspiring students. Like they have to see themselves when you're with them and working with them, and this is how you do it. So this is like, these are some of the ways you can think about partnerships, and who can you partner with and how can you partner with them. And then again, because we're virtual, you know, the virtual experience can happen, and maybe there's organizations you're connected with that you can partner with. You don't have to do this all yourself. Easily partner with somebody. You can partner with somebody who has similar interests to you, or maybe not, but just wants to do something around DNA and bring the STEM to the students and bring the STEM to the public and the community. This is another way to think about it, and very much consider the virtual experience. I mean, we've had great participation virtually. I think, as you can see by just the amount of people who participated in the Bio Summit, like people can do it because they can do it from the comfort of their home, which really makes it easy for all of us. So this is part of, so this would be a great way to think about partners. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so how do you think about, like, how do we do this? Like what topics are important to the communities? These are some examples. So health disparities, you know, topic we're all dealing with, especially during this pandemic, and just glaringly obvious. And there are health disparities within the genomics field, and we know this. So this was one of the reasons why we partnered with the Genomics and Health Disparities Interest Group, because it was a time to start having these conversations. And then like we can think about career exposure and mentoring, because the students, as I mentioned just a moment ago, these are high school students, and they need to see people who are like them doing this kind of stuff, because it can be accomplished. And even if you're not studying genomics, that's okay. If you have your own DIY space, your own maker space, you bring you bring an activity to some students, now they can see themselves doing this. And it just opens up the creativity, the innovation, the opportunity. And then some of the other topics, I mentioned genealogy here because a lot of the topics that libraries like to focus on are around genealogy. And a lot of the events that were held through the previous years were focused on genealogy. It's very much of interest, and it's a great segue into bringing DNA and genomics into the conversation for the communities and the general public. And then also because we have direct-to-consumer testing and how forensics is really changing our world and law enforcement and interactions. And, you know, ultimately this opens up a whole new world of ethical discussions that we need to start having too, and that the community really needs to be able to give input. We really need them to have that agency we mentioned earlier to be in these conversations. And this is just opens up a whole new realm if we're doing DNA Day type events and bringing this to the public. And then again, genomics and healthcare, because genomics is transforming our healthcare. It's moving at a little bit slower pace than probably most of us want, but it's there and it's happening and it's becoming embedded, you know, as we move forward. So these are just some of the things that we know, that we've known, but you might know something different for your communities. Your communities might be having completely different conversations. And we get that. And this is your chance to bring those conversations to the forefront. So DNA Day, this is an avenue to do that. And this is why we want to encourage you to think about that. And then, so how can we expand globally? And so what does putting a program together look like? So again, no prescriptions here, no prescriptions. Connect with your community organizations, your local organizations who may also benefit in bringing genomics, STEM, DNA, whatever the topic is that might benefit from bringing this to their communities. And connect with an educator. You know, given the space that a lot of us are in, we have access to educators. So let's connect with them and see, you know, if we can work with them and help them out and help spice up their classrooms with STEM activities and career exploration and things like that. You know, and in these virtual times, because this is our world, arrange a panel of discussants and let's promote it. A DNA Day event. We plan on having a panel of discussants this coming DNA Day, and one of the ideas was it would be around genetic counseling. So because genetic counseling is like one of these rising STEM fields, and our experience has shown very much of interest to students. It really resonates with them, making that connection between genomics, genetics, and health. And it's great. So like, that's the kind of things we're thinking about doing. Perform a virtual demonstration. So I actually took one of our hands-on activities we do for something here in the US we have called Take Your Child to Work Day. And we usually did it in person. And as we moved to this virtual space, I took the whole activity and it was sequencing DNA. And I made it into a virtual experience, and I worked with a nonprofit here who had a summer camp. And I went in one day and I did this with them, and they actually performed like awesome. Like they were like awesomely. They were awesome. Like they got it. And it was so neat because I was like, well, I think I underestimated, first of all, my ability to take this and transform it into a virtual experience, but also, you know, just because this stuff is not easy for kids to grasp sometimes. These kids got it. They got it. It was great. And it was so easy for me to do. And I just sat here in the computer, we talked. It was so wonderful, like to connect. But then we have like, anybody can be a podcaster. We know this. And so we've actually been on podcasts, we meaning my branch chief. She's talked about DNA Day on podcasts, but you can host a podcast. And obviously the topics are endless for podcasts. It's whatever you're interested in talking about. But let's tie it to STEM. Let's tie it to DNA Day. Let's tie it to genomics. Let's tie it to something like that. We can bring it to the students. So back to not only just the students, but back to whoever's listening to that podcast. Or you can host a Twitter chat. I host a Twitter chat every year. Sometimes we bring in researchers from our institute to talk, and they'll answer questions. One year, I had the wonderful opportunity to work with the head of our entire NIH, Dr. Frances Collins, and we worked with an astronaut from Astro Kate. That's what I remember as. She came from NASA, and she was visiting on DNA Day. We did a Twitter chat with her and with our institute director, Dr. Eric Green, and they were all in answering questions from the public, and it was like so wonderful. But I get not everybody can bring in Dr. Collins and Astro Kate. That's okay, because we all know people love Twitter and they love to like be on Twitter and talk, and you know, Twitter gives everybody a chance to say something. So there's still ways to think about how do you do a Twitter chat, like and let's do it. Rosann. And then also, if you have your own resources that you've created, this is a great opportunity for you to connect them to DNA Day. And again, they don't have to be around genetics and genomics. It can be STEM related. We're all doing STEM. Let's get it out there. And I know there's like all these areas of bio art and things like that, and DIY, like let's get this stuff out there to these kids and our educators and to the general public.
We have a couple questions if you can pause for a second, because I think it ties into exactly what you're talking about. So the first question is, can it happen throughout the year, or is it just in a single day?
Thank you for that question. Yes, DNA Day. So that's the really cool thing about it. You know, the world doesn't start and stop in the genomics world on DNA Day. So we work in an umbrella from January through May. That's where a lot of our programming is. However, I think we're going to, you know, for anybody else interested, it's all due to whatever your resources are and the needs of your community. Then you can bring DNA Day to them any day, and we will help you promote it even then. If you do it in the summer, if you do it in the winter, it doesn't matter. Yes, please, DNA Day is not held to that specific day, that month, or even the umbrella of months that we work. We work that way because we spend the rest of the year trying to get ready for it. So we have to give ourselves some limits. But for anybody else, DNA Day is every day. Like, that's the reality. DNA Day is every day, and we want it to be that way. So yes, please.
Next question. How many groups participate in DNA Day?
Yeah, so I can speak more to how many events. And this is another reason why we want to go international, because we know the people are out there, they're hungry, they love STEM, they love DIY, they love makerspace, they love all of this great bio art. Let's do it all. But so bringing that to them is, you know, normally we have about 80, 85 events. And it may be one organization hosting multiple events. So it's about, probably we have between 35 and 50 organizations that actually participate here in the US. So, or actually globally. So, you know, but we can have one year we had over 100 events, which was really cool, but it just depends. And so this is another reason why we want to go global. Let's bring all this to a broader audience and more organizations, and let's partner and let's make it happen. Let's grow this. Let's be on the level of Earth Day.
So speaking of going global, the next question is, do you have the promo material available in any other languages?
That's a great question. And not currently, but if the interest is there, I can work to make that happen. So certainly we do have resources that are in other languages. For instance, we have a DIY exhibit that anybody can download. It's in conjunction with the Smithsonian, and that is in French. And what else, Kim? What is it in French? And it's English, Spanish, French. But yeah, so we can work to make that happen. If there is interest, we will make it happen.
Perfect. And so I think we can continue.
All right. All right.
About 9 minutes left or so.
Yeah. Okay. So currently, and this would be something, I guess, that we would have to really consider thinking about converting to other languages, and I'm so open to doing that. Let's make it International DNA Day. I'm cool with that. But we have this starter kit, and the starter kit, so we assumed some of the work in helping people helping organizations plan events. And so we have this wonderful graphics team, and they created this information that's all freely downloadable. You can download a little badge that you can put on your website, calling yourself a network partner. We have flyers. We have a certificate of appreciation that gets updated every year. And you can download and print out and give, or maybe these days just PDF to somebody. We have name tags. So we really did try to think of ways to reduce the burden as much as we could, because we realized there's some limitations to what we can do for organizations, unfortunately. So we were like, well, what can we do? And let's do it. So that's what we did. We created this starter kit. This would definitely be one space where this could, we could explore putting it in different languages. Absolutely. So, okay. So I know we're getting ready to wind down, but so how can we expand globally? Like, what does this look like? It's like, please partner with us. Like if you're thinking, you want to host a virtual presentation, if you need a researcher, maybe there's some topic that maybe we can explore someone at the NIH or some of our other contacts and help you connect you with researchers if you're interested. Maybe you want to do a workshop around internships and things like that. Like we have connections with one of our colleagues actually is our connection to the internships program at the NIH. You can certainly follow us on social media and participate in, as we mentioned, out of DNA Day season live stream programming that we do. So we have out of DNA Day season programming that we do. We'd love to have your participation. If you follow us on social media, you can be up to date on everything that's going on. We actually have a family, just to give you a heads up, nobody knows this yet, but we have a Family Health History Day coming up that we're going to be doing. Kim's been working on it quite a bit, and I've been helping out, that we'll be doing over social media. And it's about family health history in November. And it's one day that we're doing this, but it would be great. Like this would be a great way for you to learn more about what we do and how we do it. And if you're interested in maybe keeping up more on the resources that we have, you can sign up for the Genome Unlocking Life's Code newsletter. So I mentioned this earlier, our exhibit, Genome Unlocking Life's Code, we have this newsletter to support it. And this newsletter is growing. And I know maybe some of you on here might be into writing. And we actually, we have a Genome Insights section where we post what young researchers are doing in the lab, and they write a really plain language type paper. So we could explore ways that maybe if you're interested in contributing something to this, we can think about that. Like maybe we have a DIY, we do something on DIY, and you write up, we get a couple of people to do some write-ups, and we put it on there, and it's free, and it's a good way to publish your stuff free on our website. But we have that. So a great way to find out is if you go to our website right here, unlockinglifescode.org, which as soon as you do, a little thing will pop out on the side. You can sign up for our newsletter. And I encourage you to do that, because we also help promote other events going on, conferences, and resources that we create, and also our partners create, and our other organizations that we work with. So. And then, help share our genomic education resources. And if you have resources, even if they're not on genomics, but they are STEM, they are DIY, they're in this world that we live in, then let us know, because we can help you promote those things too. We can do it on social media, certainly. And we can think about if it does fit the newsletter that we have. We have a newsletter, the newsletter, which goes out to almost 10,000 educators and students. So maybe we can think about ways to get of putting in, helping you promote your stuff too. So, okay. Whew. Sorry, I talked your ear off. All right, so thinking ahead, DNA Day's evolving. We're thinking globally. DNA Day is for everybody, and communicating this is key, and this is why we're doing it here first. You guys are the first to hear this, but we're ready to roll with it. Let's do it. And one of the things, so this will be the final thing I say. So we want a shared purpose statement. We learned about the BioSummit's shared purpose statement, and my boss and I fell in love with this. And we were like, we got to do this. So if anybody out there is interested, in helping us, Kim and I craft a DNA Day statement of purpose that we can have ready for DNA Day 2021. It'll go out that Friday, April 23rd. We would love to work with you. Like, you guys are right up our alley. You're who we're trying to do this with. So,
yeah.
you know, this is what we're trying to do. And so if you're interested, please feel free to email us. Here's our email addresses. Reach out to us. We'd love to work with you. We'll coordinate Zoom sessions. We've got a Zoom counts and all that stuff. We'll make it happen. And we want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We need your input, because this is not only about us, you know, this is about everybody. And so we need to think that way. We, meaning Kim and I. So we want your input. We want you to help us. So anybody out there, please email us. We'd love to work with you and help put this together. All right.
Go ahead and give some snaps to Rosann before we get maybe one or two questions in. Did you breathe? I felt like you haven't breathed.
I was so excited. I kept seeing the pop of how much time I had left. I was like, oh man, I didn't realize I was going to talk as much. So I was like, oh, but I'm hoping that, like, you know, you guys are getting the message, and we really want to just like work with you all, and let's go global. Let's do this. All right.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. You know, we have a real global audience. I think there's some real interest from people here, from our attendees from India, our attendees from Latin America, et cetera, to see and take this back to their communities and say, hey, this is an opportunity for us. You know, most of us are doing this kind of thing, but having shared days like this really excites me, because it's something that people can rally around, that allows the general public to grasp onto it. It's really funny to me the way that people like days. You know, it's like,
right.
there's no religion of science. So the closest we come to, you know, days that are important are days like DNA Day or Earth Day or something like that, where you can really grab the public's attention for at least a day to say, hey, this is something we think is important enough to bring some national attention to,
Absolutely.
or in this case, international attention to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you're right though. Like, you know, DNA Day should be every day, because like, and, or just like Earth Day should be every day. Right. So, but if this is what we have to work with, if this is what helps humans organize around and get motivated about, let's do it then. That's fine. Give me the day.
Yeah. We always, what we say here at BioSummit is this is the start of conversations. This is not the end of a conversation. So,
yes.
You know, DNA Day is the start of your DNA conversation. It's not the end of your DNA conversation.
Absolutely. No, this is so what, yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you know, we need to know what other communities are really interested in, because I realize we're in a little shell, and, you know, and I get that. So for us to really know how the rest of the world thinks about it, we need you to partner with us so you could tell us. Like, that's how we grow and stay informed.
All right. Well, I think we are out of time, but Rosann and Kimberly, thank you